Welcome to the Round Door Podcast. I'm Lancy.
And I'm Kat. Hello, everybody.
Kat, what story do we want to share with everyone today?
Today, we're going to tell a Chinese idiom story that has been passed down for over 2,000 years. It's called 井底之蛙, the frog at the bottom of the well.
Oh, the frog at the bottom of the well. I've heard of this idiom ever since I was little.
That's right. The main character is a little frog who lives at the bottom of a well, and he thinks his home is the best in the world.
Sounds like he's a very content little frog.
Yup. But then something happened that made his whole world feel completely different.
Wow, what on earth happened? Well, friends, let's listen together. A long time ago, at the foot of a quiet little mountain, there was a forgotten, abandoned water well. The mouth of the well was covered with bright green moss, and at the bottom there was a small pool of cool water. Though the well was old and worn, it had one tiny resident who was a small, bright green frog, and his name was Gua Gua. Every morning when Gua Gua opened his eyes, he would first stretch, let out a big yawn, then hop into the wee puddle at the bottom of the well to wash his face. Then he would climb up the stones on the well wall to look up at the sky. To Gua Gua, the sky was just that round circle at the mouth of the well, round and blue, sometimes with white clouds drifting past, sometimes with a sparrow flying by. This was the whole world he knew. At mealtimes, Gua Gua would eat the little bugs that fell into the well. He patted his tummy and said happily,
Today's lunch is so tasty.
Gua Gua felt like he was living the good life. In the evening, he would lie down in a thin crack in the stone wall of the well, look up at the dark circle of sky at the well's mouth, and count the few bright stars.
1, 2, 3.
Gua Gua counted and counted, and before long, he fell asleep, dreaming sweet dreams. Gua Gua had lived in the well for many years, and had never once been outside. He thought his little well was the best place under the sky. One day, while Gua Gua was dozing at the bottom of the well, he suddenly heard a strange sound coming down from the well's mouth. Gua Gua jumped up at once, his eyes wide open, and said,
What's that sound?
The sound came closer and closer, heavy and slow, as if something very, very big was approaching the well. Gua Gua stood frozen, waiting to see what it was. Whoa! A huge pair of eyes was looking down at him over the edge of the well opening. Gua Gua froze on the spot. There, leaning down over the well, stood a huge animal. On his back was a round, thick, hard shell with a beautiful pattern of squares. He had a wrinkled neck and a pair of very gentle eyes. Gua Gua asked, stammering,
Who are you?
The big animal lowered his head, peeked down into the well, and said slowly,
Hello there, little friend. My name is Lao Hai, and I'm a sea turtle. I've walked here from a very faraway place, and I'm looking for somewhere to rest my feet.
Gua Gua had never heard that name before, and asked curiously,
Sea turtle? What's sea turtle?
Lao Hai chuckled. He didn't answer right away, but instead asked Gua Gua,
Little frog, how long have you lived in this well?
Gua Gua puffed out his chest and said proudly,
I've lived here for a long, long time. This is my home. Let me tell you, my home is the greatest. Would you like me to give you a tour?
Lao Hai blinked, thinking what a cute little frog he was, and nodded.
All right then, tell me about it.
Gua Gua was overjoyed. It was so rare to have a visitor, and he immediately started introducing things excitedly. Gua Gua exclaimed,
Look! My well here has cool, refreshing water, so when I'm thirsty, I can take a sip. The walls are covered in soft moss, and when it's time to sleep, lying on it is more comfortable than cotton. Look up! The sky is round and blue, so beautiful. And at night, there are even twinkling stars.
The more Gua Gua talked, the more excited he got, hopping back and forth and asking,
Tell me, isn't this the best home in all the world?
After Lao Hai had listened, He slowly nodded.
This well really is interesting. It looks small and very cozy.
Hearing his guest praise his home, Gua Gua felt enormously proud. He warmly invited him.
Big brother Lao Hai, would you like to come down and have a seat?
Lao Hai looked at the well's opening, then looked at his own round, thick shell, shook his head, and said with a smile,
Thank you for the kind invitation, little frog. But look, my body is so large and the well's opening is so small. I'm afraid I wouldn't fit.
Gua Gua lowered his head to look at his little well, then looked up at Lao Hai's big body, and only then realized it was true. Feeling a little embarrassed, he said,
I'm sorry, my home is kind of small.
Lao Hai quickly shook his head and said with a smile,
No. Your home is wonderful. It's just that I'm too big.
Lao Hai paused for a moment, then slowly asked,
Little frog, I'd like to ask you something. Have you ever seen the sea?
Gua Gua tilted his head and asked, puzzled,
The sea? What's that?
Lao Hai said gently,
The sea is an extremely vast place. The water there is so wide that from one side you can't see the other, and even swimming from morning until night, you'd never reach the end. On its surface there are waves big and small, one rolling in after another.
Gua Gua opened his eyes wide and asked,
Is it really that big?
Lao Hai continued,
And that's not all. The sea is home to many animals. There are whales as big as houses that shoot tall fountains of water from the surface, and shimmering schools of little fish, thousands upon thousands of them swimming together.
Gua Gua listened, dumbfounded, his mouth hanging wide open.
Bigger? Bigger than my well here?
Lao Hai couldn't help laughing.
Little frog, the sea's vastness is something you simply cannot imagine. To put your well into the sea would be like dropping a single tiny grain of rice into the sky. You wouldn't even be able to see it.
Gua Gua, completely stunned, said softly.
Whoa.
Lao Hai looked at Gua Gua's dazed little face and asked softly,
Then tell me, little frog, do you know how big the sky is?
Hearing this question, Gua Gua was instantly proud again because this was something he looked at every single day. He pointed at the well's opening and answered confidently.
That one I know. This sky is just as big as the well's mouth, one round patch.
When Lao Hai heard that, he slowly shook his head, sighed, and said gently,
Little frog, the sky is actually far, far bigger than you imagine. It stretches on without end, reaching from this mountain all the way to that one. During the day, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and it takes a whole day for it to cross the sky.
Lao Hai continued,
And at night, there aren't just a few stars, but thousands upon thousands, like a handful of salt scattered across a black cloth, packed tight and twinkling brightly. The moon is sometimes round like a white plate, sometimes curved like a little sickle. After it rains, a beautiful rainbow appears in the sky too. All of these you have yet to see.
Gua Gua listened quietly. For the first time, something strange seemed to stir inside him. He looked up at the small, round patch of blue sky at the well's mouth and suddenly thought, it really did seem rather small. Lao Hai glanced up at the sky and slowly stood up and said,
I need to keep going. I'm heading back to the sea. That's my true home.
Carrying his thick shell on his back, Lao Hai walked away, step by slow step. His footsteps grew lighter and farther away. Gua Gua was left alone at the edge of the well, gazing in the direction Lao Hai had gone for a long, long time. After a while, he turned back to the little puddle at the bottom that he knew so well. But somehow today, the well felt different from before. He looked up at that small round patch of sky and thought softly to himself,
Is the sky really that big? Are there really so many wondrous things out there? Could it be that I really don't know anything at all?
That night, Gua Gua laid down, looking up at the stars, and for the first time, he could not fall asleep. He began to think, maybe one day he really should find a way to leap out of this little well and go see the world Lao Hai had spoken of. Wow, the story is over. I think the part at the end where Gua Gua couldn't sleep moved me the most.
Yeah, for the first time, he started to wonder maybe what he had been seeing wasn't everything.
Hey Kat, so what does 井底之蛙, a frog at the bottom of the well, actually mean?
Because Gua Gua lived at the bottom of the well and could only see a small round patch of sky from down there, he thought that was the entire sky. So afterwards, people began to use these 4 characters, 井底之蛙, frog at the bottom of the well, to describe someone with little experience and a very narrow point of view.
Ah, I see. You know, I think any of us could accidentally become a frog at the bottom of the well.
True. If we aren't willing to learn new things or listen to different ideas from other people, then just like Gua Gua, we'll think our own little well is the entire world.
So friends, today we'll learn one lesson together with Gua Gua. The world is always bigger than we know, and there are so many things waiting for us to discover.
Beautifully said. That's our story for today. Thanks so much for listening.
See you next time!
Bye bye.